What if I told you that one woman changed the very idea of what matter is made of and paid for it with her life? This is not just the story of a scientist, this is the story of obsession, of sacrifice, and of a glowing dust that would rewrite human history. This is the story of Marie Curie. She wasn't born Marie Curie. She was born Maria Skłodowska in 1867 in Warsaw, a city crushed under Russian rule. Her childhood was not filled with comfort, but with loss. First, her sister died, then her mother. Poverty followed grief like a shadow. But even as a child, Maria had something unusual. Not money, not connections, but a mind that refused to stop asking why. Her father was a teacher, and when schools denied her proper education, he taught her science at home because in occupied Poland, women were forbidden from universities. So Maria did something dangerous. She joined the Flying University, a secret underground school. Classes held at night. Students constantly moving locations to avoid arrest. If caught, prison. But Maria didn't care because when knowledge is forbidden, learning becomes an act of rebellion. To survive, she worked as a governess. Long hours, little pay. She sent money home, not for herself, but so her sister could study medicine first. She delayed her dreams, betting that one day she would get her chance. And at 24 years old, she finally did. She arrived in Paris with almost nothing. No wealth, no family, and barely able to speak French. She studied in freezing rooms, sometimes fainted from hunger. But at the Sorbonne, Maria became unstoppable. She ranked top of her class in physics and then mathematics, outperforming students who had every advantage she did not. That's when she changed her name. Maria Skłodowska became Marie Curie. In Paris, she met a quiet, brilliant physicist named Pierre Curie. They didn't fall in love over romance, they fell in love over equations. They married and began working together inside a broken shed with leaking roofs and outdated equipment. It barely qualified as a laboratory, but inside that shed, science was about to change forever. They were studying strange invisible rays discovered by Henry Becquerel. Most scientists thought that radiation came from chemical reactions. Marie thought otherwise. She suspected something radical, something dangerous, that atoms themselves were unstable, that matter could release energy. To prove it, the Curies processed tons of pitch-blende ore by hand, boiling chemicals, stirring heavy vats, day after day, year after year. But they didn't know that they were poisoning themselves. They just knew that they were close. In 1898, Marie announced the discovery of a new element. She named it polonium, after her homeland that no longer existed on the map. Then came another, radium, hundreds of times more powerful than uranium. At night, it glowed softly, a ghostly blue light, and Marie called them fairy lights. Beautiful, silent, deadly. In 1903, the Nobel Prize was awarded. Marie Curie became the first woman in history to win one, but even then, they tried to erase her. The Nobel Committee originally planned to give the prize to Pierre and another man. Only after Pierre protested was her name added. Even genius had to fight sexism. And then tragedy struck. In 1906, Pierre Curie was killed in a street accident. Just like that, Marie was alone again, widowed, grieving, watched by critics waiting for her to fail. Instead, she took his position, becoming the first woman professor in Sorbonne history. She returned to the lab, not because she was strong, but because stopping would hurt her more. In 1911, she did something no human being has done since. She won a second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry, for isolating pure radium and defining radioactivity itself. To this day, Marie Curie remains the only person to win the Nobel Prize in 2 different sciences. But fame didn't protect her. She was denied entry into the French Academy of Sciences twice because she was a woman. When newspapers attacked her personal life, they called her dangerous, foreign, immoral. She never defended herself publicly. She only said, "The way of progress is neither swift nor easy." Then World War I erupted, and Marie Curie made another decision. Instead of hiding her radium, she used it to save lives. She built mobile X-ray units, cars that could be driven directly to battlefields. They were called the Little Curies. She learned to drive, fix engines, operate machines under fire. And alongside her daughter Irene, she trained over 150 women as radiographers. Thousands of soldiers survived because of her work. Legend says she even offered to melt her Nobel medals to fund the war. But radiation never forgets. For decades, Marie carried radium in her pockets, stored it in drawers, handled it with bare hands. The damage was invisible, slow, but inevitable. In 1934, Marie Curie died of aplastic anemia caused by radiation exposure. She was 66, and even today, her notebooks are still radioactive, locked away in lead-lined boxes. The elements she discovered ultimately killed her. But her legacy, it's everywhere. Cancer radiotherapy, medical imaging, nuclear physics. Element 96, curium, bears her name. She became the first woman buried in the pantheon on her own merit. Not as a wife, not as a symbol, but as a scientist. Marie Curie didn't just discover new elements, she proved that brilliance does not belong to a gender, nation, or privilege. She changed how we understand matter itself, and in doing so, she changed the world.